Okay.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And it's a wonderful evening, a wonderful time to get together for our meditation practice. So thank you once again. And thank you to Sunny for hosting. Thank you to Shanti Deva for offering this course and being the host, and all of you for showing up. So we are going to take ourselves now slowly through our practice as if you're there at home. This is another reminder of what am I going to do? And again, this is just one method. And again, I'm just doing it in one style over and over. So don't worry if you're home during the week and you forget different steps and you forget kind of, was something supposed to come next? I forgot that. You just get into the space of sitting. If you're new, you just get into the space of sitting. It's wonderful, fantastic. Just please rejoice at that. Please rejoice at that. Okay. And I'll do some reviewing from the last sessions. So the first thing is we want to find our posture. We want to find our posture. 7-point Vairocana posture. Again, it's one type of posture. There are many. This one has been known to be effective for meditation. So slowly, you yourself check the posture before I mention the points to check. Just see what you remember and allow your body to find comfort in this position, either in a chair or on a cushion on the floor. So checking the spine, the legs, the head, the hands, the eyes, the lips, mouth and teeth, the tongue. Just checking that the shoulders are relaxed. As you settle into this posture, take a couple minutes to scan your body from the top of your head all the way down, out your feet and toes. Allow that inhalation to open up space in any tension you're feeling in your body. Allow an exhalation to release that tension. Think about your purpose for being here right now. We have a perfect opportunity right now. Just think, even an hour and a half of your day, taking some time to reflect on meditation. What wonderful seeds that can plant in your consciousness. And not only that, think about treating yourself to this. This is kindness to yourself. I think a real self-compassion exercise. Just taking a little time out to explore a class on meditation. So just thank yourself inwardly for doing that. And the other thing is meditation helps you deal with your mind. It helps you balance your mind, which makes you more peaceful and happier. So that has a positive effect on others as well, on anyone you encounter, in addition to yourself. So think if you could have this incredible effect on all living beings, a very, very beneficial effect with all living beings. And that's what you can do if you're a Buddha. You're a fully realized being. So taking time to meditate can help you get there. So please take a moment now to set your motivation. If you'd like to include that idea in your motivation, please do. And this is you directing your mind right now as best as you can in the most positive way. Let's do the 9-round breathing, just clearing out some of those more subtle cobwebs. So we can begin by closing off our right nostril and exhaling deeply through the left, switching over and closing off the left nostril, inhaling deeply through the right. Imagine you're lessening anger and hatred in your mind 3 times. The next round, we're going to reverse by closing off our left nostril. We're going to exhale deeply through the right nostril. Then close off the right nostril and inhale deeply through the left. And imagine you're lessening attachment and desire from your mind 3 times. The third round, we're going to exhale through both nostrils, inhale through both nostrils, lessening ignorance and confusion in your mind 3 times. So I'd like you to bring your awareness to your breath. And I'm going to follow handout 4 right now, which is called the Bear Attention Exercise. Bear Attention Exercise. So just following your breath for a moment. And just pay attention to the very subtle sensations as you breathe in and out through your nose. You might feel small hairs moving, cooler or warmer sensations as you inhale or exhale. So we're not following the air as it goes into the environment, just noticing these more subtle sensations around your nostrils associated with breathing, the opening of your nostrils. And imagine yourself as a gatekeeper. You're just watching the breath flow past as it enters and exits the body, keenly observing everything that arises in this area of focus. You may even find it helpful for your concentration to just mentally note in and out with each inhalation and exhalation. Use the breath as an anchor for your attention. So if your mind is very scattered, place more emphasis in your meditation on concentration, on the element of concentration. So you're focusing your mind more firmly on your breath. A little bit concentrating, squeezing the mind on the breath a little bit more concentratedly. So this is the element of concentration. If you're using that, again, distractions are normal. Your attention may be distracted by a thought, could be a sound, sensation. And as soon as you notice this, simply take note. For instance, it's simply thinking or sensation. No need to get upset or disturbed. There is no need to judge. You very gently let that thought go, let the distraction go, disengage, and you return back to that sensation of the breath around the nostrils. When you gain a deeper level of concentration, when the focus is going well, it's okay to loosen your concentration slightly and place greater emphasis on the element of mindfulness in your meditation. So allow your mind to be attentive and observant of whatever comes, whatever you notice, regardless of what it is. So don't identify with mental elements arising, thoughts, ideas, simply observe them like a tourist. Allow them to arise, and you are mindful of them. You just observe, and they pass away without my getting involved in them. You're just simply aware. As you gain greater mastery over this kind of meditation, each time the mind wanders from the breath, you can just note how and where it wandered. Were they thoughts of the past, present thinking, future thoughts, future planning? And you can notice what kind of thoughts tend to attract and dominate your mind's attention. So you can see the type of delusions that play a role in your life. And just slowly practice some concentration, focusing intently on that sensation of the breath around the nostrils. If it's coming better, loosen up a little bit on that and just be mindful of what is arising without attachment. So please relax. Just bring yourself back into your space. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. So, what I wanted to clarify, and we've been talking a bit about this, is the difference between concentration and mindfulness. And you get a sense of it with handout 4. And thank you to Sunny for posting it in the chat. So there's recordings she's posted there of the other classes, but all those materials for this class. So please, if you can this week, I really recommend your 10 minutes a day at least reading through. And I this tonight I read it almost verbatim, handout 4. Often I have different meditations I just do for my own practice, but this one I really wanted to read it almost verbatim. And it's very helpful to find the balance with concentration. You're on the object. You're not leaving the object, on the breath, the sensation around the nostrils. And that's where my focus is, almost squeezing the mind a little bit there, focusing in on there. And then at some point, and it takes time, but sometimes we might feel we're there. We're on it a little bit more. So I'm just going to let that happen and just be there. But the thoughts will come, different distractions. And now I'm going to use my mindfulness to just be aware that I've left the breath for a moment, but I don't have to then grab that thought and go off after that and completely leave this scene. So the mindfulness just is like, oh, there goes the cloud in the sky, the meditation we did last week, okay, on the clarity of consciousness, mind like the sky. That was an exercise for this week, or mind like the ocean. So again, see it like cloud, but I'm not even getting involved in it with mindfulness. I'm just aware that, oh, there's that thought. There's another thought. There's the breath. There's the sensation of the breath and another thought and the sensation. So you're just working with mindfulness. And what happens is you start to get to know your mind better. And you realize, wow, I'm very concerned about this particular thing. This is really bothering me. Or you might notice at some point, pretty peaceful, the mind. Not a whole lot concern, no, not a whole lot happening right now. I can follow the breath for a long time. But what it does tell you, if you notice a lot of distraction, when I come off the cushion, maybe there's some things I need to attend to that I'm not taking responsibility for, that I'm not getting to. Maybe I need to have a look at those particular thoughts. And how interesting that I seem to have a lot of those kind of thoughts and not a lot of these thoughts. So you get to know, and you start working with your mind, and you start working with the negative aspects of your mind that we can apply antidotes to. So we're also going to start talking about that and some of the obstacles in meditation. So I just wanted to give you a little bit more feeling of concentration versus mindfulness, because we often think it's the same thing. They're slightly different aspects of your mind, like that. And the other thing that's interesting, and it also says this at the end of this meditation, at the end of this exercise, when you come off the cushion, and I'll talk about this again, but when you're in retreat, and even any meditation session, I'd find is in retreat, the breaks are almost more important than the actual sessions. Because what happens is you're in a session and you know you've got the mind and you're doing prayers and you got mantras and you're visualizing, and you know you're all focused there. And sometimes it's busy and sometimes it's more relaxed and spacious. Sometimes you feel really concentrated and it's going well. Other times your mind is not cooperating. And that can be retreat, and that could be any basic meditation session you're doing. So we learn how to just be with it because that's our mind. But we're trying to tame our mind and better control our mind. So throughout the day, what you can do, you're off your cushion, you know, check whether you're being mindful. Okay. Do you always know? And it's, I love how it says this in the exercise. Do you always know what you're doing while you're doing it? Many times we don't. Isn't it absurd? Okay. So meditation, it says here, it's not an isolated activity. It's an integral part of our lives. But think about it. Think about how often you're doing something and, no regard whatsoever. You're not there at all. And you know what's scary? And we've all been there. For those of you who drive automobiles, do you ever notice when you're driving? And more, goodness, you're off somewhere else. But somehow the car's able to stay on the road, isn't it? But that's often when people have an accident, is when it goes a little long and they didn't see, and but obviously you can see the mind does more than one thing at one time. Not always well, not always well. But we're doing, yeah, so there's many times, and I've many times been in my sessions, my meditation sessions, and I might be reciting prayers. This morning actually I was doing prostrations. I do prostrations in the morning. I was doing prostrations. And I noticed that for several of the names of the Buddhas that I was reciting and making prostration, one for each name, like that, for several of the names in a row, maybe 3 or 4 in a row, my mind was completely someplace else. I was thinking about something else. And what I had to do was be like, Amy, hello, you know, right? And then what I did is I just went back and did them again, those names, because my mind wasn't there, wasn't present during that. And if I'm really trying to say the names and do purification, frankly, that doesn't count for me. So it's okay. And I have many friends where they say, now I had to go back and read the whole prayer again because I never thought about the prayer when I read it. So this helps us be more focused in general, be more present in general. Somebody's speaking to you. Are you actively listening to them? You there with them? And so many things we're distracted and lose attention. So this meditation is really, really helpful for that. So helpful for that. And all meditation is in general. So think about, in daily life, how's my concentration right now? Or, because I find one thing, how many of you are multitaskers? Anybody multitask here? Yeah. So I used to be the queen of multitasking. I think I was really good at it at one point, and I don't do it I try not to do it anymore. I really try not, because I notice that everything was getting a little bit of my attention. And and then even for a work level, it would actually take me longer to get some of those things done. But I felt like I was, oh, I'm great. I got that. It wasn't. And now it's like set a time, 20 minutes on this, finish it, do it, great, fully concentrated. And then off that goes. And now the next slot. And this is all I'm doing. This is what I'm doing right now. And I just find, first of all, I get more done, frankly. You chart it, you check yourself. I get more done if we're into productivity, which for me, it's not all about productivity, but we do have things to do at times we have to finish. But my mind's more peaceful. I'm more spacious. And if I get interrupted, I'm more quickly to get back to the thing, and I'm less kind of like, oh, I'm so busy right now. I can't talk to you. Because why? Because I have 5 things going on at the same time, none of which I'm doing well. Right. But if I'm doing one thing, I can certainly pause for 5 minutes. I might say to the person if they call, or, oh, actually, can I call you back in 15 minutes? Because I just want doing this thing, I want to finish. Some people have a thing, and I do this sometimes, where I will check emails or return phone calls at a certain time, not letting them interrupt me. The phone is next, or the phone is silent, so that this is what I'm doing now. Focus there, and also putting my mind there. The other thing I think about mindfulness is a slightly different thing about mindfulness, more Tibetan Buddhist tradition, not the mindfulness tradition. Mindfulness tradition is just mainly noting what's happening. But what are we making our mind full of? Do you ever think of that? What are you making your mind full of? And in our tradition, it's positive mind states, what we'd like to get our mind fuller of. And so we're going to talk about clearing out the delusions as well, clearing out the negative mind states. So think about, in meditation, you start learning what your mind is full of. Okay. But with gentleness and self-compassion. So, sometimes you get into this and you notice, well, my mind is full of really a lot of negative things. That's okay. We've all been there. Okay. That's how I start to look at it, to know what I need to shift and change. Okay. A lot of people on the planet, the dirt is at the bottom of the water glass, but they will never put the stirrer in. So they basically think they're operating really well, everything's fine. And they may not be, or they may be dying, and suddenly that's when the pot gets stirred, and then they see the mess and go, should have dealt with this when I had more control over my life, my mind. Okay. So that gives you, again, a little orientation of how to settle, how to come into a type of practice, just to get yourself sitting. I wanted to ask just quickly, your observations of this past couple of weeks. How's it going in general? And are you noticing what's preventing you from meditating? Because what's really significant too is to notice the distractions that keep you from getting to your cushion, that keep you from a session, because that's what's going to help you get there more often. Just being honest. If anybody cares to say, but how have things been going? Just curious. Anybody care to comment? Sunny, please.
Well, one thing I've noticed very clearly, apart from noticing my mind, which I can't believe how it just goes on and on and on. It drives me crazy, but also, what prevents a big thing is that I prevent myself from going to meditate. I mean, I'm at a point where 10 minutes, I'd like to do, a lot more than that. I'd like to do an hour, I could easily, incorporate that into my practice. But I'm so lazy. I can't believe how, I'll just be doing something and I'll just be watching myself, and I know what I should be doing and I'm not doing it. And I'm saying, I just can't, it's a hurdle. I can't, it's hard to overcome.
Okay, so what if you, for right now, were just satisfied, okay, and to a degree, okay, with just observing how challenging it is and that you're watching what prevents you. That's good enough sometimes in the beginning. And I'm not saying you're in the beginning of your practice,
No, no.
but like, why, you know, that's okay because we're all there. Many times we go, oh no, I want to do this because it's just habit. So the thing is, you're looking at your mind, and I find that exciting.
Mm.
You know, and so instead, it's also just reshaping the judgments on ourselves. Like, oh, you sit and you expect to be a perfect Buddha right now. That's not realistic.
Not gonna happen.
You know, we expect it. I should be sitting. I've been sitting for 2 years and it should just be working really wonderfully. And that's not realistic with meditation. The mind is tricky. So just the fact that you start noticing and going, wow, I'm just so thoroughly distracted. But I bet there's sometimes when you have all of a sudden a little essence comes through, right? And you're there with the meditation.
That gets counted in seconds.
That's okay. But
I'm
the thing
ashamed
is,
to say.
you get seconds of that. That's more than you had a few years ago, right?
I guess so, yeah.
And you weren't. So I just find like when people start sitting and they actually can stay on an object for a couple of seconds, most people are just bouncing around the entire time. You know, what am I doing? Am I in the right posture? She looks like she's really meditating well. I'm not meditating well. I'm a lousy meditator. I mean, all
On
that stuff
and
is
on.
happening. And eventually it quiets down. The more you get to the cushion and just sit there and let it be. So again, let the bubbles float off. All those ruminating thoughts, let them float away. Let them float away. And instead of judging yourself, checking each thought, each question, and it's simply habit. It's just simply habit.
Mm.
And slowly, you know, and again, you may try in and out. Like, so you notice the thoughts, but internally, my mind's saying in, meaning inhalation, out, exhalation. Or you're counting your breaths. Just as soon as my mind used to get busy, I'm back to one, inhalation, exhalation, one, inhalation, exhalation, slowly, two, and maybe I get to two and off I go, okay. Oh, I notice the thought, I'm letting it go. Inhalation, exhalation, one. That's meditation. That's meditation. We just keep working at it. So thank you. And thank you for trying. Thank you for trying.
I see why they say it takes a lot of courage to continue.
It does. It does take courage. And you're all very courageous. You're all very courageous if you're here tonight, frankly. I mean, it does take courage. It does take courage. I just think I personally, and I'm not saying anything about my classes or anything, but I'm just saying personally, we're the wise ones. And I'm not going to say I'm some great person. But I mean, we are the wise ones where we get it, where we want to work with our minds and really just calm down a little bit. I just think that's you using your wisdom, let alone having compassion for yourself. Of course you do it because you're motivated to have compassion for all beings. But, you know, I think that's a really compassionate thing to do for yourself. And I think that's wise. And a lot of the planet's not doing that. There's no wisdom directed at themselves or kindness to themselves. And so just the fact that you're trying is very courageous. So can we rejoice for ourselves in that, right? But we don't. What happens is the pattern is, but I'm not doing it right and I don't have much concentration. Okay? That's very natural. So instead I'm training my mind to go, wow, I don't have much concentration and I'm here doing it. How about that? Using the word and, you know, it's not like, oh, I'm here doing it, but, you know, but's a negative to me. You know, butts are always butting in, right? And kind of taking me down, but I don't have any concentration. Instead, you know, I'm observing that I'm really distracted tonight and I'm working with it. I'm trying to focus on my breath. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty cool because most people distracted leave the room, go back to their phone, turn on the TV, start talking to somebody, eat, right? And all the other things we do. Just because that's a habit. That's a habit. We're all escaping. We're all trying to escape in some way like that. The real escape is to get to freedom, to escape samsara. That's the true escape. And that you get through meditation. So there we go. So there's the couple of things that go on for us. How's it going for the rest of you? Anyone want to say, or any obstacles? Any obstacles that you're struggling? Marianne, please. How's it going?
Hi, it's going. I've tried for me, I've like had a meditation practice for a long time in my life, and just this past year it's been like really wonky. So I'm trying my best to like do it every morning and just pick a set time to do it every morning, but I've been really bad keeping up with that consistency usually. And I notice a huge difference though on the days when I don't do it when I first wake up in the morning versus when I do it like later in the afternoon or at nighttime, because like for just me personally, like when I do meditate in the morning, like today I didn't, but like when I do, like I feel like I'm also like doing like Reiki on myself when I do it at the end, and like it protect like I notice I take things a little more personally when I don't meditate, and I have more like introspection for myself if I do start my day that way.
Right.
Um, so
Well,
I it's
here's
definitely
another
something I'm
thing.
working on.
Yeah, so keep working with it. And here's another thing I would just mention with language too. And so you said, and then you said, and I was working with meditation before, but then I got away from it, and now I'm starting in the morning. And then you said something about, and then you're bad at something, right?
I think what I say, I'm bad
You
at
used the
just the
yeah,
consistency
you
part.
used the word and said, "I'm bad at doing this." So instead of that you're bad at doing something, which kind of layering a lot of negativity on yourself, right? It's kind of like I'm struggling with that. You know, I'm struggling with getting the meditation right or getting it in the morning at the right time when I want to do it consistently. That's a lot of the struggle we go through. How to consistently, and different things take us away from it. Like we might get it going for a month and we're zooming along thinking it's just wonderful, and then something interrupts it, some life change, breakup of a relationship, a sickness, some little shift in your scene. You know, you have to go back to work 2 days a week, and suddenly that breaks up the routine. That's life in samsara. So, but don't layer such a heavy thing on, and I'm bad at doing, you know, if you're showing up and trying to meditate, I don't think you're bad at doing anything. It's just that the meditation may not be as natural yet, right?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I also I don't know if you have any like tips for I have a question. I was wondering like sometimes when I notice in the mornings, uh I always do my yoga consistently, but the meditation part I really gotta I feel like I distract myself from doing it. I'm gonna become better at it day
Right.
by day. But I know it's like because I live with my siblings, I'll like go downstairs, after do my yoga, make some food, and then my sister will ask me questions about usually it's like money related or something I just don't want to think about when I first wake up, uh, and then that throws my whole day off. And is there like a good way, maybe to like say in a nice way to people you live with, like, oh, I just need some time this morning to meditate without them getting offended, because sometimes I've said that to her and she is taken aback by it. Like, it's not that I don't want to talk to her, I just like
Yep.
need some time.
Yep. So mainly setting boundaries is really helpful, especially with a meditative practice and things like that. And I'm the opposite, as I get to my meditation practice, but I don't get to the yoga practice. I've kept wondering, like, why can't I have any consistent yoga practice when I can do the meditation, you know? And I think it's very helpful to set boundaries with people. So, for instance, I just had a visitor here for a couple of days, a friend, and I'm first of all, I'm living alone right now. So, you know, often I'm not speaking to anyone. But I really need part of my morning quiet. I don't care who I'm with. I'm already doing prayers as I'm waking up and setting up water bowls and making tea. I'm got prayers rolling that I'm doing to set up kind of the structure of the day that helps my mind. So this friend didn't know that. And fortunately, they're a Dharma person. So they, you know, started talking in the kitchen where we met, obviously. And I just like kind of put my hand up to her, and I could do this with her, and just said, I listened and I answered her question. And then I said, Is it okay? I said, I really don't speak a lot in the morning. So I'm actually doing some prayers right now. So, and she just totally got it. So what I would do is separate, not in the moment with your sister. At another time, can you just say to her, if I come into the kitchen and I'm there at certain times, like, do you want a time in the morning where before, when you do that practice, that she knows that you're not available to speak? You know, set a time with her that you really don't want to talk until you come in to have breakfast or you come to get your coffee. The other thing you may have to do is avoid seeing her in the morning if she keeps breaking it and keeps coming in with topics that upset. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was really helpful.
So to live with, when you live with people, it's very good to set up some boundaries about, you know, if you see me before 9 in the morning in the kitchen, whenever, I'd really so appreciate, and you can say it really nice, I'd so appreciate you're giving me the space. That's the time I'm doing my meditation practice and I don't really want to speak yet. So I really appreciate if you can kind of honor that, give me that space. And then when I'm available at this time, I'm totally available for you. So whatever you want to talk about, maybe you can say something like that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. Okay. Let's talk about tonight is, okay. So if you can, please this week, um, do that bear attention exercise 4. Again, Sunny's posted it in the chat. Please do that. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit more about the 2 types of meditation that we do. And I've talked a little bit about this already, and these are discussed as well. There's a wonderful older book by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Kindness, Clarity, and Insight. When I got into Buddhism, it was one of the premier books everybody was reading, Kindness, Clarity, and Insight. And I still find it to be an excellent book to read. Pages 183 to 185 talk about various types of meditation. Okay. So what we have is 2 major categories in this tradition: analytical meditation and stabilizing meditation. Okay, and we use sometimes different objects of meditation, different ways the mind puts itself in relation with these objects, the purpose of the objects, okay? So let me explain. Analytical meditation, we're analyzing something. We're analyzing something. Usually we're using this for Lamrim topics, meaning topics of the philosophy. Lamrim, again, is stages of the path that take us through stages of a good rebirth. The situation is passing away quickly. We could end up in lower realms. To prevent us from doing that, we take refuge to protect us. We learn about karma and how to conduct our behavior. We learn about suffering so we can eventually transcend suffering. The real purpose is so we can develop the totally open heart with the right view, get enlightened, and benefit all living beings. So there's our whole path condensed and to a degree, okay? So when we're analyzing, for instance, is if you're analyzing why it's so good to be a human and you suffer from depression and anxiety, this type of meditation on a precious human rebirth, your perfect human rebirth, happens to be an antidote to depression and anxiety. So when people come to me and go, oh, I'm depressed and I feel anxious, and this is the meditation I tell them to do, and there's different ways to do it, but traditionally you'd go through the 8 freedoms, 10 richnesses or endowments that make up a precious human rebirth. One of those freedoms is you're free from being an animal. Okay, well, we know this for humans. Okay, now we might like our pets and think our pets have better lives than we do, but in the meditation, you will analyze the life of an animal. Pick an animal, and for 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, you want to be the animal and you want to analyze from every different viewpoint. You know, be the animal, look out through their eyes. What do they think about? You know, I mean, what do you think they think about? What do they do all day? What do they eat? How do they eat? You know, how much time are they awake during the day? Do they eat in tremendous fear? Are they hunted by other animals? Are they killing other animals? How do they make more animals? Do they have the understanding that you have? And you really spend soaking your mind, that concentration. This is where you're using some concentration, but in an analytical way, staying focused there. The mind's going to wander and you're back. You're like, I'm inside my cat right now, walking around, like 20 minutes analyzing. What will happen is sometimes in the meditation over time, these meditations are meant to be done regularly, as much as possible over time. Ultimately, in a retreat setting where you can do them longer and more deeply, is you will come to a more aha moment at your heart. So first you're intellectually going around analyzing, and then eventually you move where you're pushing it down, in a sense, this feeling of, oh my gosh, I have a human rebirth. I'm not an animal. How fantastic. Like I have so many more advantages as human, so many better things I can do. Mainly I can study Dharma. I can practice Dharma. I can meditate. I can shift my mind from something negative into something glorious. Okay. And when you really get that sense, that juicy, deeper feeling at your heart, then you're going to take your placement or stabilizing meditation. Okay. The real zeroed in laser of concentration, and apply it deeply to, in a sense, that realization, that insight, and it deepens the insight. And that's how you end up having a realization of that part of the Lam Rim, that topic, to deepen. And then what happens is, as you deepen it, concentration there, it will fade. Okay. And then you go back and analyze more quickly. You be the cat more quickly. Oh yeah, they eat that horrible food, and then this one, and they eat where they're in fear that something's going to eat them, and more quickly you analyze to come back to that again, that juicy place. Take all your concentration there, and you go, God, I'm so glad I'm free from being an animal. I'm a human. And you really feel that gush of appreciation for your human life, the succulence. It's very hard to stay depressed in that space. So again, that's a combination of analytical meditation and stabilizing meditation, also called placement meditation. In Tibetan, shine, calm abiding, where you're placing the mind on an object, keeping it there calmly. Okay, so I just wanted to explain the two types of meditation. Okay, then what we have is when we are placing our mind on an object, let's say a placement or stabilizing meditation. Okay, now what we do is, when you're doing shine, calm abiding, where you're placing your mind on an object, let's say, for instance, you want to do an evening purification practice. Sometimes we do something called Vajrasattva practice. Vajrasattva practice. Okay, Vajrasattva is simply an aspect of the Buddha that does purification. It's a beautiful crystal light being like that helps us purify. So I want to visualize Vajrasattva, and I might want to place Vajrasattva over top my crown, about 6 inches in height, like that. So we tend to use Vajrasattva as one of the objects of meditation, a visualization. Okay. And what I'm trying to do is visualize as best as I can. For some people, visualization's hard and they have nothing they can visualize. They say there's nothing. It's simply just an obstacle. It's a type of obstacle that you can purify by doing some purification practices. We all have a different makeup like that. So what we try to do is, maybe you just visualize a white light over your head. Okay. And I often tell people, if you want to start visualizing and you're not good at visualization, right, visualize something you're an object you're very familiar with. An apple, maybe. A cup. Something like that you're very, very familiar with. Okay. The reason we prefer to visualize a Buddha or an aspect of the Buddha like Vajrasattva is because they say it's uplifting to the mind and it leaves a positive imprint on the mind. Much more than an apple. An apple may also create craving. I'm hungry. I think I'll go get an apple. May distract you. Okay. But again, start with what is possible for you, what's realistic. So that's why we tend to use images of Buddhas. And another reason is, if you ever get into tantric practice, higher level of practice, you need proper empowerment to do that. Okay, you can't practice Tantra without a proper empowerment by an authentic person who can give the empowerment. Okay, so once you do that, you're actually can find out what your main meditational deity is, which is usually a tantric deity. You can then get the practice of that deity called a sadhana. And sadhana or sadhana in Sanskrit simply means method of accomplishment, meaning through this practice, which is a booklet of prayers and visualizations and mantra recitation, I am going to get closer to that aspect of the Buddha and accomplish their path. Okay. And so through that process of that practice, I'm going to try to do a lot of visualization of visualizing that particular aspect of the Buddha, of the omniscient mind, in an aspect of some deity. And at some point with Tantra, I would like to visualize myself as that deity in that deity's paradise, like that. And what that does, it leaves more positive imprints on your mind. You don't want to do it, however, without the proper empowerment or initiation. So this is the kind of objects we might use, why we would use those, and the different types of meditation. Okay. So when we meditate, we focus the mind on something. Okay. So either something we meditate or concentrate on, such as the breath. Okay. Or we might be meditating on change and impermanence as a topic of the Lam Rim. And what I mean by that is if you're doing change or impermanence, and I lead people through some of these meditations on impermanence when I'm doing death and rebirth courses, is change and impermanence is first, let's just notice the changing nature of my body right now. The changes I can track in my body. You might notice you swallow, you have an itch, you shift your position on the cushion, like that. Okay, and then you might notice, you might imagine subtle changes in the body. Yeah, well, there must be digestion taking place and respiration that I'm not really noticing. Blood is going through my blood system, circulatory system, but I'm not, but you realize, well, there's a lot of changes going on, and I'm trying to keep my mind, that could be an object of concentration, change and impermanence. Okay. I may focus on an aspect I want my mind to develop, loving kindness. Loving kindness. Thinking of, for instance, someone in front of me that I absolutely adore. And as soon as you have that thought of them in front of you, the heart just starts opening. And you might say, and now imagining light rays that represent the feelings you have for this person emanating out from your heart, filling your whole being. That's another thing we concentrate on, right? But each one has specific reasons. Like I'd love to develop loving kindness. In order to develop loving kindness, you need to practice a little bit of loving kindness. Practice a little bit of loving kindness, honestly. And then what will happen is that will get more activated automatically. But it takes time. It takes time. The same thing if you want to develop compassion or wisdom. An example I gave, I think I mentioned this before. Please correct me if or please mention if you've heard this story. When I was in retreat in February here in the house, and I, for some reason, each retreat's a little different, and I had a focus of the retreat. And what I noticed is somehow the bodhicitta meditations, which is simply a meditation on different steps to achieve the enlightened mind, which is a mind that wants to get enlightened to benefit all living beings. It's a mind, and bodhicitta incorporates cherishing others more than yourself, and kindness and compassion. Okay, so a lot of us have heard this Sanskrit term bodhicitta. Bodhi is enlightenment, citta is mind. So again, that mind of enlightenment wants to get enlightened. I want to become a Buddha. Why? For the sole purpose of benefiting all living beings. Okay, so I happen to be doing a lot of meditations on that, and then I mentioned I finished the retreat and I was at my grocery store. Did I tell you this story already? Okay, just refresh it. So I went to the grocery store, and again, I live between two big grocery stores. One is always really organized and has all the stuff, and the second one doesn't. So I went to the one that doesn't because I feel like they're kind of the underdog and I like to support them, but they're often out of items and they're similar grocery stores. And I went into the store, but it had such an effect, the bodhicitta meditation. I'm not saying I have any realization or I'm any great meditator, but it has an effect on the mind, gross and subtle, has an effect. There I am just shopping in the store, but I love the post-retreat period because everything's a little softer if you really did nice retreat. And I come into the store and I go around the whole store and there's 4 items they don't have in the store that I needed. But what I normally do in the store is I can never find a salesperson in the store to even ask. Never. They don't have the items, nobody to ask. If you do find somebody and you ask them, they will say, I don't know. They'll never go in the back room to check for you. They just don't know and they're not going to help you. That's been my experience. But now with bodhicitta, this meditation behind me, more of it, and 4 things they didn't have. And at each time they didn't have the item, there's a salesperson right there. So that was unusual. But what I did is instead of going right over and interrupting them with a little bit of like, I waited and looked at them and I was like, oh, the guy's unpacking. He's busy. So again, it was more about him than what I need. And I waited a little bit. What I did is I moved over slowly in their direction, but not right in front of them, but I moved over until they looked up, which was, somewhat soon they looked up and they saw me and I was smiling and then I looked at them kind of a little bit humble and I said, excuse me, can I ask you a question? And they right away and they said, yeah, sure. And, I was pleasant. And then I said, I wonder if I was over there and they don't, right there on the counter, I showed him, do you have any more of those? I see that you're out and I'm just wondering, might there be any in the back? Right. And right away they went off to check. I'll check for you. The first guy, right? Anyway, and they came back. So 4 different places in the store, 4 salespeople right there. I kindly asked them 4 times they went in the back, 4 different salespeople. And all 4 times they came back with the item. Right. I never had that happen before in that store. Never. And I walked out of the store, I finished, bought everything, come out in the parking lot. And it was a really beautiful, sunny, late winter day. And I walked out and all of a sudden I paused for a moment and I thought about what just happened. And then I thought, this bodhicitta really works. So again, it's not any, but I'm not any great meditator, but it has an effect on your external reality. It totally does. So again, if you want to have loving kindness, and the thing with bodhicitta is, if you're really trying to practice bodhicitta and meditating a lot on bodhicitta, actualizing what Lama Yeshe, what he liked to call bodhicitta is totality heart, the heart fully open. So if you're exercising from that aspect, you get everything you want. That's the result of bodhicitta. You basically, the byproduct is, because it's contagious, people feel that around you. We all know when we've been around really, really good people, right? You like being around them. You want to be around them longer. His Holiness the Dalai Lama is like a magnet. Everybody, that kind of quality of mind, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, I'm sure Mother Teresa had the quality. I'm sure Jesus had the quality, but we know ordinary people that are like that and they're so good and we just want to be around them. We just love being around them like that. So you get everything you want and people are happy to help you. Okay. But you're not in a phase of you need to help me. I'm important. I'm really thinking about them. And then as a result of that, they're like, oh, what do you need? What can I help you? What do you need? It was amazing. Right. So kindness really works, but it works if I practice it. So again, these are meditation objects. These are meditation objects I'm going to try. And those are just different ways I wanted to mention that you can do it. So you got a visualization object of a deity aspect of the Buddha. If you're struggling with that, start with an image of the Buddha, an ordinary Buddha image. We know what the Buddha looked like. Get a card, get a picture, one of your books, right? And just look at it for a little while, but then close your eyes and try to bring that image up. If the whole image is too difficult, start with the face. Just get the Buddha face. If that's difficult, get the eyes going. Break it down into small pieces until you're kind of like, I like those Buddha eyes. They're kind of slightly open, slightly closed. That's kind of cool. Just focus on the eyes. But know the whole body's there, right? And then also, maybe I'm just going to work on the breath for a while. Again, the Buddha image more powerful, uplifting for the mind, leaves a positive imprint like that. And then maybe I want to work on a topic of the Lam Rim and I want to appreciate my life more, or maybe I have a lot of pride and I want to bring my mind down a little and be more humble. Then I meditate on change, impermanence, and death. And that brings the mind down a little bit. You know, if you're depressed, you're anxious, then meditate on precious human rebirth and learn what those 18 situations are. 8 freedoms, 10 richnesses, slowly, one a day. Get 18 days, you take 3 weeks, slowly, one a day, you know, or take one a week for 18 weeks. Just spend a week on one of those. I'm not an animal. 1 week, 15, 20 minutes a day, and see if it uplifts the mind. So those are just different examples of things we can meditate on like that. And it's the same thing. Let's just think about in life, right? Think about what you're familiar with now in life. And you're familiar with it because you do it every day, right? Whether it's something on your phone, whether it's something, the way you eat, where what you read when you eat, or what people do, what they talk about, if they live with other people when they're eating, what you do when you go out of your apartment, habits you have for your work experience, if you're working part of the day, things that you do. So notice how I kind of in daily life have to meditate on those things to do them, to accomplish those aims during the day of ordinary life. And that, because meditate simply means in Tibetan gom, the word again, gom, G-O-M, familiarize or habituate. So think about what you're familiarized with now, what you're habituated with now. And if some of it is not really beneficial, you think, just ask yourself and check a little bit. Can I borrow a little bit from this, from what I think is not so beneficial, and move it into the meditation practice a little bit more? Okay, gently, it's a process. Gently, it's a, you know, don't beat yourself up and go, oh, I'm so bad, I do all these terrible habits and I eat candy all day. And, you know, you're, again, mindfulness, I'm just noticing that particular habit may not really be that helpful, may not be so helpful. But this habit, I think, is pretty positive, you know, that I like to make dinner for my family, or I make dinner for my partner, or my housemate, and I really love making dinner for them. That's great. That's generosity. And you do it with love instead of, you know, in a hassle and with anger. And no, I really enjoy that. I like cooking. I'm going to make them a nice dinner. That's kind of my participation in the household. Great. Like that. But I need focus to do it. Excuse me. I need some focus to do it. And the other thing is, if you're someone who cooks, we get good at cooking and we have ease of cooking if we're familiar with cooking. So if we do it a lot, you get good at, and you just do it without thinking. You know how much to put in, like that. So anything. So think about what you're very familiar with in your everyday life, how well you do it. We're going to work on that with our meditation slowly over time. We can do that with our meditation. Okay? So again, those skills of concentration and mindfulness help us to use with these different types of meditation. So with concentration, I have an aspect of the Buddha. I might first look at a picture in front of me. And that's why we sometimes have altars with pictures of different images that we like. Again, we're happy with. And then I'm going to close my eyes. Bring the image to mind. So it's in your mind's eye. I'm not looking at a picture and doing shine, meaning trying to reach calm abiding by focusing and staring at the picture. I have to bring it up in my mind. It's from the mind side that I'm holding an image in my mind. I'm concentrating. So in a sense, I'm absorbing my mind into the image. That's the concentration aspect. Second part, mindfulness, is I'm noticing details of the image more clearly, but now I notice I just went off. Oh, I left the image for a moment. Oh, back to the image. You know, and then I just notice, oh, there's other sensations arising. Oh, look, I'm about to lose the image. I need to tighten up the mind. And once you're sitting longer and longer, you start to get these aspects where you're tightening the concentration more, almost with the mind, closing in on the object a little bit more, laser focused. And then there's times I'm too focused and the object might feels like it pops out and I go off into distraction as well. So then I might not have a way of relaxing the mind a little bit and then finding that balance. And suddenly I'm on my object, whether it's an image of the Buddha, but whether it's a Vajrasattva, whether it's a topic of the Lam Rim, whether it's a quality I want to develop in myself, you will eventually start to strike a balance, okay? But it takes effort. It takes effort. Shine takes a lot of effort, calm abiding. Let me talk about some obstacles. Okay. Primary obstacles we have are drowsiness and distraction. Drowsiness and distraction, just for example, okay? So distraction, as we know, prevents meditative stability. We got that. Drowsiness, sometimes called dullness, prevents me from having meditative clarity. So I might be holding an image of the Buddha in my mind, but really dull and no features are clear at all. Like I'm just kind of almost like an animal. You're just there, the hum, but no details clearly emerging like that. And distraction can even be to a very, sometimes we call it excitement, and it can be to a very blatant level where I'm not even going to get on my cushion. I'm just way off. I'm not doing the meditation tonight. Can't do it. That's very common. Okay. So again, this is very normal for our minds. Please know that this is really, really normal. So you're not a horrible meditator. You don't need to judge yourself. I'm giving up the meditation practice is really crap. I can't do it. It's just literally coming back, meaning coming back, first of all, to my space, to my posture, to my motivation, a little bit of breathing meditation to stabilize the mind, counting the breaths or in and out. Again, I'm always coming back to the fundamentals and then slowly expanding that meditation base to other meditations. We try our best. It's a process. So sometimes you seem completely powerless to stop the drowsiness or the distraction. Okay. And the thoughts are just ever flowing thoughts, like Sunny was saying, just the ruminating mind over and over. Okay. But we can channel like water, they say, running in every direction. We can channel the water. And when we do, it's very powerful. Okay. The same is true of our minds. Same is true of our minds. So overcoming distraction is one of the skills we develop in meditation. And again, we know if our minds are less scattered, we have better concentration. Okay. Our process of what we're familiar with in meditation is easier, more effective. And then our thinking processes are more powerful and effective every day. So I notice also with more meditation, when I'm off the cushion and out of the meditation session, I can focus better. It's when I stopped multitasking some time ago. Because I realized that's like in meditation, I'm doing one thing generally. I mean, sometimes you're doing a couple things, but I'm there in meditation, one thing like that. And I just noticed how the mind has a little bit more laser focus, and why not do that in everyday life with things? And I just feel more peaceful doing that, and can get tasks done a little more clearly. Okay. So another thing, with greater concentration, your memory works better. Analytical processes are sharper. Your thinking is clear. And one thing I find really interesting with what I would call highly realized beings, I've had many lamas, many teachers. The old generation from Tibet, most of them have passed away, but many of them lived well into their 80s. One of them right now is, I'm not sure if he's 100, but I think he's past 95, 96 maybe. He may have just turned 96. And he's completely there mentally. His body is really struggling, but mentally, and some of these teachers I've met in their late 80s, I never saw signs of dementia, anything like that in them. And I could see sometimes, even though their body was, you needed two attendants to help them and they really couldn't walk on their own. And, and at one point, if I was able to offer an offering scarf to them or an offering, and I looked up into their eyes, I remember kneeling down in front of Geshe Sopa once, and he was completely there. I remember him taking my head in his hands, and I looked up into his eyes, and I was like, it's Geshe, he's completely there, this Lama. Like he didn't skip a beat, nothing. So it's interesting. Like, could our minds be like that into old age if we live to be old? Would be wonderful. So again, if you feel to look at another book and you're interested in another wonderful for beginners too, but good for anyone, is Kindness, Clarity, and Insight. And they have pages in this as well that go on to the antidotes to the obstacles that we face. For those of you that are interested in the book, How to Meditate, or have that book, How to Meditate by Kathleen McDonald. She, again, is our longest term nun in our tradition. She's an old friend. Her ordination name is Venerable Sangye Kadro. She's a wonderful teacher and a wonderful being, wonderful nun. In her book, How to Meditate, I think it's pages, here I have 37 to, well, it's chapter 4, 37 to 41, but she talks about, she'll go through the antidotes to obstacles. So let's look at distraction right now. If you need a book reference, that can help you. But let me look at antidotes to the obstacles. Let's look at distraction. And I'm going to call it also excitement. Okay. And excitement can be, I'm following an object of desire. And I'll give you an example. I was in retreat at Laudo years ago. And again, the food used to be extremely limited. It was mostly potatoes. Fortunately, I love potatoes, but after, for a Westerner, after a while, you're craving all kinds of food. And maybe at the time I didn't get enough protein up there. I'm not sure. I mean, now they have greenhouses, so they have different food and vegetables and other vegetables. So I remember sailing along a couple months of my retreat, everything fine. And then one week, I couldn't visualize anything except a pizza. And, just craving. It was just a craving, but the pizza represented excitement to me. I'm running after, and I'm sitting down. It got very frustrating after a while. I mean, I'd have a little bit of meditation and a little bit of thing on what I was doing, and then pizza. And it was just a succulent, bubbling hot pizza, the cheese, it was horrible. It was just, so after 5 days of it, and I was getting really down on myself, like really kind of like, what's going on? I can't get back to the meditation. And so what I did is I did a visualization and I ate the pizza. I visualized the pizza, there it was. And I just imagined myself sitting down at a table and eating pizza as best as I could, trying to taste it, what it would taste like. And I got through like almost 2 pieces of pizza, like in the visualization of just, and the thing is, I was very familiar with that because I'd eaten pizza so many times. So I just decided, like, let's just have the pizza then. If this pizza's dancing around your mind, just eat it. Visualize yourself eating. And after, by the second piece, succulence, and usually after 2 pieces, I'm done. It's enough. And then, usually it doesn't agree with me very well, pizza. So I was like, okay, enough of the pizza. And that was it. It went away. So sometimes you just need to face it dead on. What is this telling me? Okay. Another thing you can do, these are focusing firmly on the breath to calm the mind. You notice you're distracted. And I like to start with the 9-round breathing if I find I'm really distracted. Go back to a pranayama, practice deeper breathing, okay? And then from there, next antidote, back to the breath. And I might just be saying to myself, in, out, in, out. And if you're in a room alone, maybe you need to say that a little bit out loud. Okay, and then slowly let the out loud go, and you're just saying it internally in your mind, or I'm counting the breaths. 1, 2, just slowly. If you're visualizing an image of the Buddha and you're very distracted and it keeps flying around or turning, imagine it's heavy. Imagine it's got a really heavy base. Boom. Sometimes it brings the mind right there. Okay. You can also imagine an object. If you're very distracted, make it smaller. Sink it down, smaller. If that's hard, maybe make it bigger. But usually if you make it smaller, the mind gets concentrated there. For instance, sometimes what I'll do is if I'm very distracted, I place a golden drop of light right outside the nostrils, you know. And if there's more distraction, I brighten the intensity of the light and make it brighter. And the mind tends to go right there. If you're very, very sleepy and you want to do a meditation like that, you might want to raise the drop to here, center of your forehead. And again, you think you're going to lose the drop and you're scattered, you're drowsy, brighten the drop, the intensity of the drop at your forehead. That can kind of wake you up a little bit. But we're mostly talking about distraction right now. So another thing is if you're thoroughly distracted, the mind's zipping around and it doesn't work with the drop of light outside the nostrils, move it down a little further, down to the navel. So you're bringing the mind down, anchoring the mind. That's another antidote you can try. Another thing you could do at the level of your navel, okay, imagine a small seed is there at the level of your navel. The top half of the seed is white. The bottom half of the seed is red. Concentrate on that. If you're also really distracted, topics like death and impermanence is something that brings the mind down, as I mentioned before, or the suffering that you endure, or the suffering of a loved one, or the suffering of other people on the planet. Suddenly brings the mind, like I'm scattered around, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'm going to cut the meditation short. I don't really want to meditate right now. Oh, wait a minute. People are dying. Okay, I need to try a little bit. I need to focus a little bit more. Okay. The other thing is when you do think about sobering topics like death and impermanence, suffering of yourself, the suffering of others, okay, that can strengthen your determination to get control of your mind, to keep meditating, to keep trying to sit, to trying to develop that practice. Really can help you. And also remembering that you can get out of samsara. Samsara, Sanskrit word to turn again, to turn, to cycle. And all that cycling is through suffering. So just know I can get out of this. That's why I'm sitting. That's why I have to sit. Without the sitting, it's going to be a really slow process. But if I'm sitting, I can undo some of the negative habits in my mind. Another thing with distraction and excitement you may want to do is check your physical posture. You might find that suddenly you've been sitting and you're sitting like this. Somehow the neck went back. Or people find because subtle winds are moving when you start meditating, you might all of a sudden find that you're kind of tilted. You know, and then it's like, wait a minute. Okay. Or your head happened to be up here. And some people stretch out their neck like that if they're meditating. That creates distraction. So suddenly it's like, all right, the head's supposed to be a little bit tipped forward, not down here, just a little, it's all subdued. And if I close my eyes meditation, what are they focused on? Are they looking up? They should actually be pointed here towards the tip of the nose or the floor and the space in front. And one more antidote, please be patient and easy with yourself. If the mind's very distracted and excited. I can't do this, I can't sit, I'm a horrible meditator. Please be patient and gentle with yourself. So next week, we're going to look at the antidotes to drowsiness or dullness. So I'd like you to work with just when you get distracted and if you can also look at just reflect if you can this week. So please do the bear, keep doing the basic practice as I've led you into it, however best that works for you. And then that bear attention, exercise number 4 in what you've got. Continue what other meditations you're doing as best as you can. And please reflect this week about your efforts, the experiences of your efforts of being mentally distracted and unfocused. And what did you do for it? How's it going? You know, one day you might not have been able to do anything about it. Okay, right? And notice that the next 2 days, I did have some distraction and unfocus, and I was able to do some of those antidotes. I was able to do something. So we can talk about that next week, because it really helps other people too, when that you might have a different device, a different technique that worked. And I'd love if you can share it, because it can really benefit other people as well. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, so I'll talk about that next week. Any last questions, please? Oh, so they're sweet. So they've got some upcoming events. So do look at the chats at times. It's helpful sometimes if the host wants to mention the upcoming classes, because people don't always look in the chat. So I think sometimes make announcements. They've got some wonderful upcoming events like that I would recommend. And Kindness, Clarity, and Insight. Thank you so much, Sunny, for posting that book. It's really a great book. I
There's,
love that book.
Venerable, looking on the internet, there's also a PDF that you can access on the internet without, it's right there on the internet.
Wonderful. So it's really a fantastic guide just to read the whole book, but you can also focus on parts of it about the types of meditation and the antidotes that His Holiness mentions in there, and you can go to those parts. Thank you so much. So yes, so what I'd like to do in closing is dedicate whatever merit we have created, whatever positive energy we've created, and I'd like to invest it in our really having flourishing, thriving, consistent meditation practices. But again, please practice the patience. We're all different beings, and all you can do is try your best. And that is great. That is great. So please rejoice that you're here, that you're trying. It will come in time, give yourself some space. And I'd like to dedicate, because that meditation practice, let's hope that it helps each of us in our own way, individual way, to get enlightened quickly, so we can really be of the hugest benefit to all living beings. I'd also really like to dedicate to my friend's brother in Brazil. I have a nun friend who runs our Rio Center. Her brother Pythagoras is in the hospital with COVID on a ventilator now. Like each week it's gotten worse, and he was then in the ICU. And then 2 days ago, she said he was intubated and he's on a ventilator. So we're really praying for him right now. Even if you don't know him, just keep him in your thoughts and prayers in Brazil, and all the other people with COVID and all the other people with illnesses, body and mind. May they be healed instantly, and may all the pandemics of the world go away for all time. And for the long lives of our precious teachers like His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and for the great thriving of Shantideva Center. Thank you so much. Please be well, and I look forward to seeing you next week. I'm also doing a course on, I think it's Wednesdays from 12 to 2 on establishing a daily practice, and you can find those things and other things on my website. I'll just put there if you're interested. It's a little bit more advanced of how to really do the prayers and things according to our tradition, if you're interested. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, Venerable.
And I think July, where are we now? No, we're mid-June. So His Holiness's birthday is next month. So we can get together and talk about that later. Please be well, everyone. And thank you so much, Sunny, for hosting. And but I think it's good if you come on at the end and make the announcements. I'll just say to them in the chat, I put this, so then people know to look in the chat about what's coming up.
So would you want me to say something like now? Or
Well, I already said that please have a look in the chat, because the things are there. But normally the host, I think it's really beneficial, because I teach at a lot of centers, and I do notice centers where they do post stuff, but they never say, and a lot of people said, oh, I never saw it, I didn't know. So
Right.
it's really helpful to mention, because some people are on the phone and they can't see the chat. So
Oh.
you can actually say to them on our website, there's this, or you can do this, or, and so that way they hear a little bit, and then they may
Yeah.
think, oh, I've got to check the website and go to that course.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thanks. I just think it's helpful. Thank you
Yep.
so much, everyone, and please be well.
Thank you, Venerable, you too.
See you
Thank
soon.
you, Venerable.
Good night.
Buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And happy Father's Day to any fathers out there.